You are listening to WHOA Podcast, coming to you from Gainesville, Florida. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the WHOA GNV Podcast, the podcast bringing you businesses and individuals that make you go, whoa. Today on the show, we have Doug Jones, Associate Vice President for Santa Fe College, and a good friend of mine. Doug, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks so much for waking up early. I know you said you got a little cold going on, but you're like, I'm going to go in there and do this 7:45 a.m. I appreciate you being here, man.
My pleasure.
So I cannot wait to dive into your history a little bit and talk about how you became this Associate Vice President for Santa Fe College. It's going to be awesome. Before we do that, though, Ty, my man Ty is still gone. He is overseas golfing his little heart out. And I'm pumped for him. And I've been like, if you guys haven't followed Ty's Instagram stories, you need to go follow Ty's Instagram story. He is at Ty Recurian. Go follow him because he's like showing, it's just awesome. Like I'm seeing shots from Dubai and from Jordan. He's all over the place, man. Yeah, so it's been fun because while he's been away, we've done several things, right? We've had guest co-hosts that were nonprofits on the show, and then in the last couple episodes I've started having students on the show, which is really, really exciting as well. So I want to introduce my guest co-host, Noah Wilburn.
What
is up, man? How are you?
I'm good. I'm feeling great.
Yeah?
Feeling good.
Well, excellent. I'm so glad that you're here. And so Noah, you go to Santa Fe College, right?
That's correct.
You are a sophomore, you said?
Sophomore.
And what are you majoring in?
Journalism.
Journalism. All right. So you're doing all of that. You also have a podcast that you're involved with.
Yeah, it's called Talk Your Walk.
Okay.
And, so we bring people on who have a passion about something, whether it's, their business or politics and whatnot. And so we have them come on and talk about what they want to talk about and give them a platform to speak on.
So you talk about politics and stuff on your show?
Yeah.
That's pretty much everything that I try to avoid. So if you want to talk politics, go over to Noah's show.
Right.
No, well, cool, man. Well, I'm excited that you're here. And I know that you are also on the core team with LeaderCast.
That's
right?
correct. Yep.
This is something that I've become super passionate about with LeaderCast. For those people that don't know what LeaderCast is, actually I'm going to let you kind of explain what LeaderCast is so everybody knows.
So whole purpose of LeaderCast is to, make leaders worth following. So that's the mission. It's based out of Atlanta, and they have every once a year they have a broadcast. Well, LeaderCast is it's a year-round event, but they have once a year they have a big event in Atlanta, and it's broadcasted from to 600 different host sites around the world. And so actually Gainesville is one of the top 5% of host sites, which is really good. We've been doing it for 9 years. Jill Nash runs it. And
she's a rock star.
Oh, I
love you,
Jill.
Jill.
She's amazing. Come on now.
Jill Nash, I love you.
But so she does it with her company, Advantage Media Promotions. And she actually just partnered with Team Dynamo, my dad, Craig Wilburn.
I know you said stuff about living in your dad's shadow a little bit. Your dad's a great guy.
I'm just trying to be like him when I grow up.
Yeah. Well, he's done a good job with you so far, right?
Oh, yeah, I appreciate
so there's a lot of pressure for you not to mess that up. Am I right?
I mean, not really. He put a good head on my shoulders, I think. He did a good job.
Yeah.
But
all right, well, good. I'm glad that you give him an A+. So when is LeaderCast?
It is May 10th at the Queen of Peace Gymnasium. Starts at 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. around then.
Yeah, and every time that I've been there, this thing is full.
Oh, full. At least 300 to 500 people come every year. So
if you want tickets, get tickets now. Then you just go, where do you go to get that and stuff?
You go to you can contact me. So Noah at modernizemobile.com. You can talk to Jill at advantagemediapromotions.com. There should be tickets on the LeaderCast website. I think if you type in leadercastgainesville.com, you can go there as well. Lost my train of thought.
Any other places you can get it? I know you can connect with them on Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook, and
but just go Google search LeaderCast Gainesville, and you're gonna find multiple places
everything
where you
will
can
pop
get tickets.
Up. Yeah.
Worst case, contact me and I'll get you connected.
There you go.
But what I can say about LeaderCast is, so I don't know if you've ever traveled to a conference and gone anywhere to like see speakers. I mean, this stuff's expensive. I mean, really expensive. Like, I mean, one, you got to pay for travel.
Right.
So you got to, you know, if you're going to Atlanta, like the last one I went to was actually in Nashville. So I had to pay for go to Nashville. I had to pay for the hotel. You know, I was there for 3 or 4 days, and it was a great event, but like, I mean, it was super expensive. And then I had to pay to go to the event itself, which was like like $800 or something. Wow. Like, yeah, I mean, these conferences are expensive. And the advantage of something like this is, one, you get to be in your network. Like, there's going to be a ton of Gainesville businesses there. Opportunity to network, but also get exposed to some great talks and, you know, just, I mean, how many speakers are there? There's several.
I actually
there are
have
several.
There is a whole list for this year. I mean, they've had a lot of different speakers and whatnot. This year they have Gail King, Dr. Caroline Leaf, Andy Stanley. He's on there every year. Oh, my bad. Juliet Funt, Marcus Samuelson, Ginger Hardage, Craig
was there
Springer.
like 8 or so? Like,
Yeah, it's
lot,
about
right?
There's 9, 3, 6, 9. Yeah,
I mean, that's awesome. So it's a great opportunity to invest in yourself. I think as entrepreneurs and businessmen and women, that's something that we don't do enough of. I think like we're so giving of our time to other people that, you know, I think it's just natural tendency sometimes to not like carve out time for ourselves, and this is a perfect opportunity to do it. You know, go in there, network with others, and just invest in yourself. Learn something.
Yeah, especially if it's in your hometown too. I mean, it's right there.
Become a leader worth following, baby. Right. Well, man, I'm super excited that you're here. Thanks for coming on as my guest co-host.
Of course, man.
We're gonna ask Doug some incredible questions. I know I'm really excited to get into this. So, hey, Doug, have you ever done like LeaderCast or anything like that before? Have you heard of this thing?
I have heard of it,
okay.
And yeah, it's been here as Noah said for a number of years, and a lot of folks in the community here have benefited from it. So it's a great event.
Yeah, you said like 9 years, right?
9 years.
Dang, it's crazy. Jill, keep doing a great job. Proud of you. All right. Well, Doug, so, I mean, you've seen a couple of our episodes at least, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask somebody that. They're going to be like, no, I haven't seen one before. It's going to happen at some point. So our format, you know, we like to I just like to dive into people's stories, man. Mm-hmm. Like, it's so crazy. It's funny. I was commenting last week how much I know of, you know, a lot of people. I'm friends with a lot of the business community, which is fantastic. And then I bring them in here, and I start interviewing them and asking them about their history, and my jaw drops because I'm like, man, I really did not know anything. And it's super fun to get into people's stories. So why don't you tell me a little bit about how you got to where you are today? Like, what brought, you know, are you from Gainesville? Did you know, what brought you to Gainesville? Just your story, man.
Yeah, grew up in Winter Park, north of Orlando, and went away to school in Texas for my first couple years undergrad. Transferred here to the University of Florida for what I thought would be 2 years to finish my bachelor's degree, but instead I did that and then got a master's and then went on to law school. Meanwhile, went to work at the University of Florida and then transitioned over to Santa Fe College. So what was going to be a 2-year educational experience so far has turned into a 40-year life experience. You know, Gainesville is just one of those places that once you get here and start getting involved in everything that's happening here, it's just a great place to be and a great place to stay. So I ended up here.
Land of opportunity. That's what they say.
Yeah.
At least, you know, people I know.
So why don't you explain a little bit about like what you do for Santa Fe and just some of the exciting things that are going on over there.
Okay. Well, I've actually done a number of different things through my higher education experience, and each of them has kind of been its own unique new adventure, and you know, which has always been important to me. I'm one of those people who would rather build something new or do something different than to maintain or sustain something, even if it's something that's good. So one day at Santa Fe College, I was working as the director for student life, which is a student affairs type position, you know, student government, athletics, student activities, those types of things. But I'd been doing that for 5 or 6 years, and Dr. Sasser's administrative assistant popped into a meeting that I was in and said, you know, the president would like to chat with you. And I nodded my head. I said, okay. And then she was still there. And I said, you mean like right now? And she said, yeah. You know, so I joked with the people around the table and I said, you know, pink slip time, you know. And so I went in and we visited. And he shared with me this idea that he and the person that was the provost at the college at that point in time had about creating this Center for Innovation and Economic Development. You know, his vision was to tie the college more tightly with the business community, to do more things that made good sense in terms of what we do at the college, connecting very directly to Gainesville's business community. And I said, wow, that sounds great. You know, I said, now, you know, my background isn't specifically economic development. And he said, you're a bright guy and you make things happen, you know, you'll be good. And so here we are a few years later, and a really good move for me. You know, I love what I love about it is I get to hear people's ideas and dreams for what they want to do for a business each day. And even better than that, I get to connect them to people that can help them make that happen. So that's kind of at the core of what we're doing there. We have our community education and continuing education programs, which are great programs as well. But often people want to talk about that business incubator, where people who are starting businesses can come in, often with just a idea on a piece of paper, and we can help them flesh that out into something that we can figure out pretty quickly. Is this viable or is it not viable?
And is that really open to anybody?
Anybody.
Okay.
Anybody, yeah. You know, people sometimes will presume that it's only for Santa Fe students or
Right.
Santa Fe staff.
I think there is that presumption.
And it's absolutely not the case, you know. And we serve UF students as well, and many people in the community who, you know, maybe they went to Santa Fe 20 years ago, but plenty that don't have any direct connection to the college.
So how many businesses have been through there?
It kind of depends on how you count them.
Okay.
Bill Dorman and I have met with, in the last 9 years, close to 2,000 different people who have come in to talk about their idea. Now, sometimes the idea is something that's, you know, after we talk with them, we figure out it's not something that's workable in this community. But from that group, we've had about 200 different companies that have incubated with us. And what that means is they've officially become a part of the program and spent anywhere from a couple months to several years working within the program. The beauty of the program is people can come in very easily. You know, there's not an elaborate process to get accepted into the program. They stay however long works for them, and then they graduate. So nobody's on the hook for a year. You know, if they're in there 2 months and they say, wow, gotten what I need, we say, super, you know, let us know if there's anything else we can do. So it's very fluid, you know, in terms of people coming and going. And sometimes the personality of the incubator has been more services type of companies, and sometimes it'll transition to we got a few more technology companies, but it just kind of follows the whims of this community in terms of what their business interests are.
Who's a success story that's come out of there that's just that people would know that just kind of like, oh wow, okay. They started there?
Yeah, gosh, it's hard for me to choose one
because there's several.
There's several. Yeah,
that's awesome.
People know Kristen Hadid and Student Made.
Okay.
Corks and Colors. Rebecca Smith.
Yeah.
The Cade Museum folks spent their first 8 months with us as they were getting started on that process. Altavian Engineers builds and flies drones.
Yeah.
And so John Perry and Thomas Rambo and that team.
I mean, that's got to feel really good.
It does.
Right?
It does.
When you see like businesses like that have come out of, I mean, that's just incredible.
Well, you know, those are great because they make a bigger splash and they're larger numbers of employees and so forth. But it's also really pretty cool. We've got just a lot of companies that they may still be relatively small and under the radar, but it's someone who came in and said, I want to create this business opportunity for me and one partner. And, you know, and their goal is not to franchise it and turn it into, you know, something that's nationwide. Because, you know, in the United States, 85% of business is small business. So, and of course, small business is defined a little larger than what we call small business in Gainesville.
Right.
But the point's still the same, you know, that it's the volume of activity, that energizes the economy. So, you know, we're thrilled, you know, if we've got right now we've got about 28 companies in seed and 32 in GTech.
Okay.
So about 60 companies, and half of them will never get larger than 3 or 4 people.
Okay.
But then the other half, maybe larger games.
Do you guys like weed them out at all? Like, are there people? Is there like an application process, or is it?
Yeah, it works really very nicely and very compassionately, because 2 things that happen in that regard is when we meet with people who are sharing a business idea, a lot of times we'll give them homework. So they'll visit with us and then they'll go do a little more research and come back. And oftentimes that research illuminates a change in path for them, or something they need to tweak. And sometimes it just shows that, that what they're thinking of is probably not viable. As an example, sometimes people will have an idea that has worked in much larger communities. We visited with somebody one time that was interested in opening a cat cafe. And, everybody's like, oh, I like cats. That'd be, and this is not a place where you
I like
bring
cats too.
Yeah, you don't bring your cat to lunch. You go there and there's cats that are lounging around the place. But so we had them go do a little research to there's 8 or 9 or maybe 10 of those that exist in the country, but all of them exist in large markets because, people may go to the cafe because they like the food in addition to the cats, but if it's about the cats, you probably have to have a larger market in order to sustain something like that.
Yeah. How many do you guys like keep track of like the percentages of the successful ones that come out of there? And
we do very loosely, and the challenge with that is we don't want to define success for them.
Right. Sure.
We had a guy that was in there who was working on a mobile app, but simultaneously very interested in Google, and he went to a conference with his app, met some people, connected up with folks at Google, and now he's been at Google now for 5 years. And that, in his book, was success.
Sure.
Yeah. So,
makes a lot of sense.
And again, some of our companies just, want to be smaller. So, we do, and I don't have the numbers with me, but we do each year try and add, count up the numbers of jobs created and business, dollars changing hands and so forth. So, and I think last year we in that year I think we had 253 maybe jobs. So, and that's the big piece I think for Santa Fe College is that this generates jobs for people, because each of these people, many of them that start businesses, employ people. Well, and they certainly employ themselves. So it's
and do the majority of them stay here, or have there been big ones that have left?
Yeah, most of them have stayed here. And that's for us. That's a home run. If we help somebody, and even if the business leaves, that's still a good thing. But if they stay here, that's in baseball analogy, that's a double. And if they stay here and hire some people, that's a triple. And if they stay here and hire a bunch of people, that's a home run.
Right.
Do you ever follow up? You ever follow up with the business and once they leave and everything?
Absolutely. And in fact, what we do pretty frequently is we'll call on them, to help us, provide some advice and support for some of the newer companies. And I tell folks, it's maybe an analogy I should be careful using because I only have 2 kids. Mm-hmm. But when we opened the seed, we thought we could have 4 resident companies and 8 associate companies. But when we got to that number, we started adding some walls and creating a little more space in the building. And we figured out that it's kind of like families that have more than 2 kids. And I know your family, Noah, has 5 kids, right?
Yeah. We got a lot.
That the older kids help the younger kids.
Right.
So
do you? Is that true?
Yeah. Well, not me personally.
I just think, I was about to say, I don't think Noah helps that.
So we were, so now we have 8 resident companies in the seed and 18 or 20 associate companies in the seed. So, we could create more volume, and the way we're able to do that is we have this team of resources who are professionals in the Gainesville community who will help our companies for free. And we have all of these individuals who have already been successful in their own startup that, you know, we call somebody and they'll say, hey, yeah, I'll sit down with them and tell them a little bit about, you know, if, you know, they're going to get a fleet of vehicles. Here's something, you know, I can tell them what they need to think about.
Right. That's great. Are there people that have come in and you're just kind of like, no, you can just get that gut, like that's not,
Yeah.
you know, because I think, you know, and I've talked about this on previous episodes, that there's a lot of people that just think entrepreneurship is really cool right now.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, and I hate,
like a fad.
I know, I was going to say that. I'm glad you said it for me. I was like, but I do. I think that entrepreneurship in a way has become a little bit of a fad. And so I don't know like what the process is like in terms of that and like making sure that you guys aren't wasting your time or somebody comes in and you're like, you know, like,
Well,
I got to think it's happened.
I was about to say, that's why you have them do the research, right?
Right. That's absolutely. That's one of the
that's
pieces.
the main.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And you're right. You know, there's a lot of people who number one, they don't understand that, you know, sometimes people come in and they want to start their own business because they don't want to work for somebody else. And that's a good enough reason. But what they don't understand is you're going to work a lot more working for yourself than working for someone else. So it's not a path to less work. And also, it does have kind of
path to a lot more
to
work.
a lot more work, right? And so that's a piece that they need to understand. And also, it's as you said, it's kind of a cool place to be in right now. Mm-hmm. So sometimes people, you know, just want to be around that vibe, you know. So they'll want to start something, you know, just to be a part of the energy that's around that. So we do a couple things. One, even if they want to join the program, we usually will help them for the first month without even saying, hey, it's time for you to join and start paying, the small fee to be a part of the program. And they like that because they're like, wow, these folks are good. They want to help us and they don't want us to waste money. And that piece is absolutely true. But the other piece for me on that is we do give them this homework and we start interfacing with them and they find out quickly and we find out quickly whether they really want to do something or whether they just kind of want to talk about doing something. And that way we don't end up taking their money when they really weren't going to do something and they don't end up wasting money. You know, and sometimes we'll even connect them with someone else who, you know, because that's what some of the people need. They might have energy and want to be a part of this, but their idea may not be a great idea. Sometimes we'll say the jockey is better than the horse,
right?
You know, and we'll try and help them find another horse. So
that makes a lot of sense.
In fact, we've got 2 or 3 people who have worked on more than one project. You know, one that we have in there right now that's kind of interesting is called Heart Healthy Spirits, and the entrepreneur that's one of the entrepreneurs that's doing that did something totally different a couple years ago that didn't end up succeeding. But this Heart Healthy Spirits thing is kind of cool. You know grapes, the skin of grapes has a chemical in it called resveratrol, and it's heart healthy. Oh. So people who drink wine, you know, have healthier hearts. You know, that's why all these people in Italy and in France that eat all this rich food and drink wines.
You heard that?
they don't have as many heart attacks. So what these guys have done is they've taken and made a tincture of resveratrol, you know, so it's, you know, like a drops, and they put it in other things. So for people who are not wine drinkers, beer as an example, it likes to dissolve in alcohol, so it's very effective there. And they put it in other products, non-alcohol as well, and odorless, tasteless, and healthy. So it's kind of a cool idea, and that's Kim's second project through the seed.
I'm just thinking about wine and beer now. That's funny. We've talked about when we can start doing this podcast at night, so that way we can have a glass of wine or something while we do the podcast. Because I'm like, hey, it's healthy for the heart, man.
Yeah, right.
I want to do it.
About to tell my parents.
Tell me a little bit about this major construction project you guys got going on right now.
Yeah,
this is pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah, we're very excited about it. You know, the community here in Gainesville is is a really good one for people that want to start a business, because we've got a number of incubators, and the incubators all work together very collaboratively. I remember when the UF was getting ready to open the Innovation Hub, someone came in my office and they said, "Oh gosh, that must suck. Here, the UF's opening this big old thing 2 blocks from you." And I said, actually, it couldn't be better for us. And that's really the way it works, because more entrepreneurship causes more entrepreneurship. It spins more things out, and it's it's like all restaurants. There'd be a row of restaurants or car dealerships. The more of it that's going on, the more of it that it generates, and each of us does our own thing. We may overlap in some areas, but there's a little different niche for who would be better served at, say, the Sid Martin, or at the Innovation Hub, or I guess they call it Innovate UF now,
right.
Or for us. So we've grown, and we haven't been able to accept another resident company in the seed for over a year now.
Wow.
And and G-Tech has started to fill up, out in further east Gainesville. So, the college is going to build a new building right on the same site where the seed exists now. The building is going to have not only the incubator, but it's also going to house it's going to be home for the college's IT academic unit and the business academic unit. So we'll get those students that are studying IT and studying business downtown, and they'll be able to connect better with apprenticeship and internship and job opportunities, and they'll be able to connect better with the incubator. So the space within the new Blunt Hall, that is the incubator, will give us 3 times the capacity that we have now for serving startups.
That's awesome.
And we're a fair amount of the way through the funding. I think we have $18 million of 32 or 34 million. And we're hopeful that in this legislative session that kicks off in another couple days now, that we'll get the rest of the funding we need, or at the very least, enough that allows us to break ground this summer.
Yeah, this is going to be a big place, huh? Because
yeah.
It says 3 stories.
3 stories, yeah. 86,000 total feet, I think 51,000 usable space.
Dang.
Where's the location of it?
It's going to be University and 6th, so right where the Center for Innovation and Economic Development is right now. On that northwest, for longtime Gainesville residents, the old Gainesville gas building.
Yeah.
So, what do you think the advantage is to starting a business here in Gainesville? Because this is the thing that has just absolutely blown my mind since I started. Mm-hmm. None of these resources were available when I started. So I started in 2004. I literally had to figure out everything by myself. I have legit failed my way to success in every sense of the word, not knowing where to go, not knowing who to talk to, not even knowing how to go downtown and get the business license. Everything. Literally failed my way to success.
Well, it's good that you share that, because those are the things that we really are focusing on, trying to help folks don't waste one day, don't waste $60, don't waste $5,000, So I think the community here is good now, because we do have more resources now.
A ton. It's crazy.
Yeah. And beyond that, and some of this may have been here before, but just not accessible to people, we've got an attitude in this community from the people who have already been successful that they want to see other people succeed. So, I'm just always impressed and amazed when I reach out to someone and I ask them whether they'll spend time with somebody that's new. As an example, Randy Scott, who's had several very successful launches, including Novamen, and he's navigated the whole FDA process on products that have to have FDA approval. And when I call him and say, hey, I've got somebody who's devising a product, but I think it's going to have to go through that. Can you spend a half an hour with them? He says absolutely. And in fact, I can't think of anybody who we've reached out to who hasn't been willing to give somebody a little bit of time. And and these are folks who are running, Axogen and AGTC and big exact tech, and infotech and infinite energy, and in fact, infinite energy is an especially good example because Rich Blazer, has been incredibly supportive of a number, including mentoring, younger entrepreneurs and newer entrepreneurs. So we have that in this community, and we're kind of a nice size here. We're big enough to where people can get resources, but not so big that people just get lost in the immensity of the place.
We're growing.
We are growing
exponentially.
Yeah.
Like a lot fast.
So on the other side of that, what are our restrictions?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's keeping us from getting to that next level as a entrepreneurial community?
Yeah, well, a couple things that are, one is in each of these is an improving area, but one of them is the availability of venture capital. People who have started businesses in places that are more familiar with how to fund and support financially a startup. There's a little easier path in places like Silicon Valley and Boston and Raleigh, Durham, and so forth to get money. So sometimes what that has meant is some of our good startups have ended up getting recruited away to other places. Austin, Texas, as an example. Feather went there for a while and then and then has been back. So that's one of the challenges. But one that each success that we have here moves us a step closer, to being able to do it more fully here, and Augie with Trendy Entertainment was one of the first that got, an infusion of money that allowed him to stay here and be here where he wanted to be and do what he wanted to do. So that's one of the challenges.
Real quick on that note, do you think that a lot of people who are developing these businesses and they get to that point where they're like, okay, I need seed funding, or they start, or maybe they're even like, oh, I just want to get out of Gainesville and go to San Francisco. I mean, I have found that there's this false perception of like the living side of things, like the cost,
right?
Like the amount, like how much money it takes just to live in San Francisco is like crazy.
Right, yeah.
Right? And I think some people just don't even understand that. And so there's been times where we've talked about Gainesville being very much a bootstrap place because you can, build a company here and get by. It's like minimal living expenses.
Right. Yeah.
And so I don't know, like that's just something that I've constantly have seen is that everybody's like, oh, I gotta go to California because I need the money. I need venture capital. Yeah. But at the same time, like the costs are so extravagant.
And I think sometimes even though is some legitimacy to there being easier access in some instances to venture capital, there's also more competition for it. And the point you make, is a good one, that I think sometimes it's just what people have heard about places and they haven't really studied the full picture of it. We see a lot of, but just because, young people, particularly younger entrepreneurs, they want to go, and see the world and do something, different. My kids grew up here in Gainesville, and my daughter, who graduates in May, will leave here, because she wants to go and see some other places and so forth. And so I think some of that is legitimate, and some of it is just the reputation of Silicon Valley compared to the reputation of Gainesville. And reputations take a little bit of time, for them to adjust, and whether that's somebody's personal reputation or whether it's a community's reputation. So even though we are a better place than people might know, it's going to take a little bit longer before people start defaulting to the idea of this is a great place to start a business. People who are doing it know that, and people who are supporting those who are doing it know that, but the average person on the street doesn't necessarily hear or know that yet.
Okay, well, in the same lines, do you think that, you're talking about young entrepreneurs, you're talking, yes, like I understand there's a time where you need venture capital, right? Mm-hmm. But I also think that we're starting to create a default of, I need venture capital.
Right.
Let me go give my business away.
Yeah, right.
And get venture capital. I mean, are we as an entrepreneurial community starting to default to that? And is it a mindset that needs to change? Is the mindset like, hey, no, like, why don't you go work your butt off and start making money and bringing in profit?
Yeah, and I think you're
business.
Right. On most businesses, particularly services and lifestyles businesses, which is your niche, and the one that I work mostly with, I think that's absolutely true, because most of the things that you can build are scalable. You can build it to this level, reinvest, build it to this level, reinvest, and you don't need to to sell half of your business for some I'm not going to say small chunk of money, but for any amount of money.
Right.
In some instances where it's a very high-tech type of a enterprise to where the that valley of death between when you're starting and making money is too wide or too deep, sometimes there are certain types of businesses that need it.
Right.
But for other people, it's an impatience thing.
Yes.
And I'd love to see some statistics on people who, after the fact, whether they're like, yeah, that was definitely a good idea, or yeah, that was okay because it got me to where I was going, but I lost a little bit of control of what I wanted to do and where I wanted to do it, and I gave away half of my business to get there quicker. Right.
Yeah, and I definitely understand it, especially on some of the tech side. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of urgency, mm-hmm. getting first to market a lot of times. Like so I definitely understand. It's just I've noticed, it's crazy. I talk about this all the time. I'm 19 years in Gainesville now. It just blows my mind. And I've just noticed being very involved in that entrepreneurial scene that it just seems like that default is constantly like, let me go raise money. I need money. And so I'm just trying to.
I think there's a second piece in there too that it's when somebody gets funded, it's a validation, and I think sometimes that's a little bit in the background that people are like, this is an obvious indicator that I'm on the right track and that I have a viable business because I was able to.
So is that more for ego then? I think, it makes me feel good. Like somebody thinks my idea is good enough to give me some money.
Yeah, I think that can be I'm not saying that's a driving force with it, but I think when people are weighing the pros and the cons, that's one that's maybe in the background a little bit.
Definitely a motivator.
Mm-hmm.
You can give me some money to invest in my new business.
I'm trying to earn money, dude.
All right, so you said there was two things. Mm-hmm. One was venture capital.
In terms of challenges.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what's the second?
And the other thing is a big double-edged sword in Gainesville, because those of us who have lived here a long time love and value that it's a beautiful city. There's lots of trees. There's a very strong emphasis placed on environment and protecting the environment and managing growth in a way that we don't lose control of the personality of Gainesville. So sometimes that will create a dynamic to where where people who are trying to launch businesses will feel like they've encountered resistance or pushback, or it's hard to get something approved, or those types of things. I think that's another thing that has improved significantly in the last few years, but the reputation for that has lagged a little behind the reality of that, and there still are some tough obstacles. But again, we all have that dynamic of weighing, okay, how can we have our cake and eat it too, in terms of encouraging business startup, without doing something that's detrimental to in the environment or to traffic. Sometimes people will say, oh gosh, I don't even want to drive on Newberry Road at 5 o'clock or Archer Road. And so, I think we just have to continue to find the intelligent ways to navigate those things. I hope that people understand that we have to be able to help businesses succeed for the economy, because that's what solves a lot of the challenges and problems that every community has is successful businesses, turns money around and generates opportunity for people and creates a tax base to pay for the things, that we all share and need. So we can't succeed if business doesn't succeed. Yet, we don't want success to mean that we're living in a place that we don't value because of its beauty and its environment. So I think that navigating that dynamic, I'll call it more navigating that than whether it's a specific impediment.
Yeah, I definitely think you're 100% right. It's improving a lot.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing that I like when I look at my time here as an entrepreneur in those early days, there's video of me somewhere like standing up in front of the city commission, like really kind of ripping into them a little bit. Mm-hmm. I don't know what year that was, but it was a little bit further back in the day. Mm-hmm. Because I just felt like a lot of it was just common sense. Mm-hmm. And I think there, at least in those early days, there was a lot of like, nope, this is what the book says. Mm-hmm. This is what the piece of paper says. Mm-hmm. You don't qualify, right. Blah, blah, blah. And so we hit that with our scooter dealership. I remember, they wanted us to be business automotive and be kind of out there on Main Street with all the car dealerships. Mm-hmm. And my mindset was very much like, look, I don't need a 10,000 square foot building and 500 parking spaces. Mm-hmm. I was like, my scooter dealership is a retail business. I was like, we need to be able to line up scooters inside of a building. Mm-hmm. I was like, they don't have fuel in them. Like it's a retail showroom. Yeah. We need to be retail. Mm-hmm. And there was so much pushback on that. In fact, like this place right here is grandfathered in as business automotive, and it's the only reason why we're here. It was by God's good grace that we got this location. Yeah. So like but with all that said, it's definitely improving, and I've seen a ton of progress along the way. But I can definitely say like in those earlier days, there were definitely times in my mind where I was like, you know what, like screw this, I'm gonna take my business somewhere where I'm wanted. Yeah, and
I think there is, there's just a fear that it's a slippery slope to something that people really don't want, and so there's, I think historically there was an adherence to maybe some unnecessarily onerous regulation, and so that has been a tough piece, and once we can get a little bit of trust mutually between the business community and the environmentally focused community and some urban planners that I think what people fear is kind of the strip mall type of an idea, and a place with no trees and so forth. So each time that we have some development that happens that is successful, that is still a great place to be, when we get finished with what CRA is doing along 6th and 2nd and so forth, and people see this is a great place for business to thrive and it's walkable and there's trees and so forth, then I think people relax a little and cooperate with one another a little more. But right now, there's still just a little bit of, we don't want to lose control of this. And I always remind myself, we have people who live here and have lived here a long time who think this is paradise exactly as it is, and so I try and respect that, even though for me, I'm thinking, we need some new types of businesses and new types of jobs. And as a parent, I want to be in a place where when my kids graduate, they have opportunities to stay here and not go somewhere else. So, right. So it is a bit of striking that balance and building the trust it takes in order for us to take some incremental steps towards that.
Do you find that some of the challenges come from these giant entities trying to pull together like a single vision. You know, like you have Santa Fe, you have the University of Florida, you have the city of Gainesville, the Chamber of Commerce, and I love, like I've seen some really you know, great meetings taking place, like half day meetings of these organizations coming together in one room, and I think most people, at least a lot of the Gainesville business community knows that I sit on the board of directors for the Chamber of Commerce, and it's a position that I'm happy to be in. Like I definitely want to be one of those leaders for this community. And it seems like there's just sometimes a lot of, I mean, whether you want to call it red tape or just a lot of, you know, it just takes a lot of time to get everybody on the same page, heading the same direction. And I'm just kind of wondering, what can we do to speed it up?
Yeah, well, that's definitely the $1 million question. And if we solve that here, you know, when we solve that here,
this would be the greatest podcast ever.
And we'll take it on the road to a lot of other communities.
This one episode solves all the problems.
I think the challenge is this: a lot of times the best ideas and things that we would strive to do come from people who are in more nimble types of positions. You know, which usually accompanies being smaller. You know, it's, you know, if it, you know, it's the difference between a battleship and an aircraft carrier, you know, so to speak. And so we get that dynamic to where we need the support and resources of the University of Florida, of Santa Fe College, of UF Health, you know, that, you know, of the Alachua County School Board, because they have the ballast that it takes to navigate, you know, the times of change and to get us to a point to where whatever we want to do that's new is sustainable from a financial standpoint. So we need them in the room and in the equation, and they include a lot of the big decision makers in the community. But, you know, we have to have that spark, that energy, that creativity, that nimbleness that smaller business people, and I don't want to make it an ageism thing, but often younger thinkers have. So that is, in fact, a tough dynamic. And then overlay that with the fact that each of those large entities has a specific vision and mission statement that, you know, so they're trying to stay in their lane to some degree. So sometimes when these ideas, if they get outside of their lane, particularly if it becomes a contentious type of a topic, they're going to get right back in their own lane. Yeah. You know, I remember maybe 10 or 15 years ago, I was a part of a little task force, and there was a guy that wanted to bring a minor league baseball team to Gainesville. And he was talking to us at Santa Fe College because they wanted to put $10 million into renovating that stadium and sharing it, because the college baseball season and minor league baseball season only overlap 2 weeks. So we thought, wow, this is kind of cool. And minor league baseball is a great, you know, and it doesn't compete with UF baseball. And it's what it competes with is going to the movies or roller skating or whatever. You know, it's a very family-oriented thing. Right. And we got a little bit of a way down the path, and it was feeling pretty good. And then we ran into some opposition, public opposition, because there was a piece of it that wanted to leverage some of the bed tax. You know, for when people come to Gainesville and stay in hotels, it generates some revenue that gets divvied up to support certain types of events. And as soon as it got a little bit contentious, you know, at Santa Fe College, we said, okay, never mind, you know, because, you know, we wanted to be a part of something that was, you know, we thought would be good for the community. But, you know, at the end of the day, we're a higher education institution, not a minor league baseball franchise. So, you know, we didn't want to be in this contentious thing over something that's not in our core mission.
It's interesting. I have more questions, but do you?
Well, nothing about minor league baseball, but I was looking at this. I was actually, so what do you say to somebody who comes to you, wants to start a business, but their time management is off? So like they're either too busy to do something, or like, how do you help them through that?
Yeah, we really do, both Bill Dorman and I really do try and get to know the entrepreneurs on a personal level. And it's interesting because some of them spend more time with me and some spend more time with him. And some of it's geographic because his office is at GTech and mine's at Seed. But some of it is just who they relate to or connect to more comfortably. And so we try and have a good enough relationship with them that we can be candid with them about those types of things. Yeah. And so we do that. And there's some exercises. You know, what'll happen a lot of times that's a similar thing is somebody will come in and they'll start telling me something they want to do that sounds like a good idea. And then they're already talking on 3 or 4 or 5 peripheral things, you know, and we try and validate the 3rd, 4th, and 5th thing, but say you need to begin by getting really good at the first thing.
Right.
You know, because you spread yourself too thin and none of it's going to succeed. And the analogy I use for them is, and this is an analogy even, you know, sometimes they'll have a little bit of success and now they want to sponsor, you know, a Little League baseball team or something, which I think is a good idea. But I tell them, you know, it's kind of like when you're in an airplane and they say, if the oxygen mask drops, first you put it on yourself and then you help others, because you can help others a lot better if you've, you know, established yourself comfortably and solidly. You know, if you start too early, spreading yourself thin, either financially or in focus, as you alluded to, then your odds of long-term success are. And we have some people that we have to, some of them get that immediately, and so we'll have them write a list of, you know, of the core things that they need to accomplish. And they can write another list that's these peripheral things, but I'll make them put that second list on a second piece of paper because I don't even really want them looking at that until they've completely conquered the first list. And sometimes we'll remind them, you know, we'll say, okay, that's interesting, but what does that have to do with your first list?
Right.
And they're like, well, you know, and you know, they get it eventually because they start seeing, you know, the progress that they make. But it's a very, very frequent and natural dynamic for people who are entrepreneurially focused and innovators, because they are constantly, their mind is constantly bombarded with ideas. And how to put some of those in the parking lot and drive some of them is a skill they have to develop. Yeah.
Don't want to become a jack of all trades, but a master at none.
Exactly.
So me and my dad was having this conversation a couple of weeks ago, and he was, you know, I mean, he pretty much said what you said, not spreading yourself too thin, because then your performance level and something you're actually good at goes down because you want to do multiple things.
And we're experiencing this with our new media company right now because we're bringing on new clients, and then we have like an account manager who's responsible for a certain amount of clients. Well, then what happened? You know, if that person's responsible for 5 clients, and you bring on a 6th and a 7th. You know, here I am, I'm out selling, but I don't want like the production level, the quality of work to suffer because one person starts to get a little overloaded. So it's definitely like figuring out that balance. Yeah. Now, from an entrepreneurial standpoint, like I'm definitely one of these guys that's all over the place. Right. I'm like, scooter shop, media company, podcast. I'm like, how many more things can I do? You want me to invest in your company? Cool, I'm there. I'm like, let's look at all this stuff.
So the things that I encourage people, because sometimes you are ready to do, you know.
I just think I've become a very good team builder. I wouldn't be able to do it without the New Scooters for Less team, for example. I'm not in the day-to-day over here at New Scooters for Less.
Yeah.
And my team is rock solid because I've spent, you know, years and years and years building a great team with a great culture. That's the only reason I can actually take time away from New Scooters for Less and invest it somewhere else.
And
Otherwise, I couldn't do it.
And that's the key. And Chris Marhefka and I were talking the other day about, because he's into a couple things.
Yep.
And the gym, he said, runs
self-sustains.
Yep. And so there's that, making sure that if it's something you're not going to pay everyday attention to, that there is someone who you have great confidence in that is going to, that or a team that's solid in that, and that you do a little more frequent evaluations of, you know, whatever metric you're measuring, whether it's scooter sales or you know, that you don't fall asleep not at the wheel, fall asleep in the back seat of the car, So, so those are.
And you and Bill Dorman are like really coaching those kind of things up as well.
We are, yeah. And we get it. It is interesting in that we get some folks that come in and they avail themselves more of the affordable space and the use of the meeting rooms and
that's where they
and
need
our
the help.
photocopy equipment and they've got a pretty clear picture in their own mind of what they want to do. And then we have other folks who
really need the guidance.
Yeah, and some that will come in even I try and manage my day in a way that someone in my building, if they step into the doorway and stick their head in, even if I'm doing something, I can say, hey, come back in 15 minutes. Because a lot of times they'll have really a very easy, not easy in terms of, that it's something they should have figured out themselves, but something we've handled a bunch of times, and they can ask me and get an answer in 10 minutes and move on. So we try to make sure that we're informally available, and we've got some folks that we speak to virtually on a daily basis, and some that I might not see them for 2 weeks.
Yeah. That's cool. It's super interesting. But I'm like super grateful that it's there and that you guys are putting in that time and effort, because you're absolutely right. Like the entrepreneur community around here is just incredible. And anything that we can do to continue to fuel that is like heading in the right direction, in my opinion. I just absolutely love it.
As a college student, I can say very thankful for what you and your partners are doing,
Where can people find out more information? Like if they want to get involved, or if they have an idea for a business, where do they need to go? What do they need to do?
Well, they can, if they want to, with us, they can begin at the Santa Fe College website. So, sfcollege.edu/incubators. And that would take them to a page that would tell them a little bit about what we do at the SEED, which is the Center for Innovation and Economic Development, at GTech, which has a little more of a light manufacturing and technology bent, and is also physically located in East Gainesville, which is important to us, and our IPDC, which is our Innovative Product Development Center. So if they go there, they'll have a number of email addresses to connect with us. Walk in the front door, and really, if they go in any of the incubators, they're going to end up in the right place. If they walk into our place and they're going to be better served at Innovate UF, we'll chat with them for 15 or 20 minutes and we'll send them over there. So,
cool.
Nowadays, if you've got a laptop and just put in the word Gainesville entrepreneurship and scroll a little bit, you'll find. And in this community, the good news is, if you step in at almost any spot, you'll get introduced to the right people that you need to.
Yeah. When once this project gets funded, when's the building and stuff start?
So
are you guys gonna have a temporary location?
Yeah,
during all that?
we're working on that right now.
Okay.
We don't want to get the cart before the horse on this.
Sure.
Best case, we would be demolishing our building maybe late this summer, and we would spend a year or 16 months not in our building. Some of our incubating companies would move into GTech. We're working with the CRA right now on some options, and we have good partnerships with CareerSource, who's a regional workforce board. So we'll have some opportunities for space that will be near where we are. So we'll do that. We just haven't firmed it up yet, because if we don't get the funding we need, then it's still another year down the road. So I don't really want to rattle too many people's cages without.
How much money do you need? We'll raise it right here on this podcast.
Right now.
Yeah, well, we need about $14 million more.
Hey guys, we need $14 million. Fork it up. Let's go. Well, cool. Doug, where do you see Gainesville in 10 years? Mm-hmm. Just as a community, what does Gainesville look like in 10 years?
I think there's going to be a more walkable and interesting downtown. I think the space between the University of Florida and downtown will be, a really cool space where people want to be. Kind of like what you see in Greenville, South Carolina has an area like that. Columbus, Ohio has an area like that near their campus. So I think that's going to happen. I think there's going to be more technology-related companies like advanced manufacturing types of companies that will be arriving here. And to that end, we're launching at Santa Fe College a new academic curriculum associated with advanced manufacturing. So the people that use AutoCAD and the machine cutting of parts and equipment and 3D printing and that type of stuff, can situate itself here more quickly and more readily. We like that because it's clean technology, it's high tech type of, and it generates jobs, that make between $40,000 and $75,000 a year, a lot more jobs in that niche. One of our challenges here in Gainesville is there's a lot of people who earn on the high end, and there's a lot of people who are underemployed, because they're we don't have as many of those mid-range and technical jobs to round out the economy here. So we think getting more of the type of businesses that have those types of jobs is good, and so advanced manufacturing is one of those areas, and more biotech.
Cool. I'm excited, man. Lots of good things coming in the future. Love it. How old are you gonna be in 10 years?
31.
You don't know how old you are right now. We're not gonna cut that for you. I'm sorry. That's staying in.
Please cut it. Please.
So, well, Doug, thanks so much for being here, man. I really appreciate your time coming in this morning. Noah, you too, my man. Appreciate
Always.
it. I did mess up at the beginning of this episode because I forgot to thank our first sponsor. I've never had a sponsor before. I don't even know what to do. But no, I mean, well, of course, these guys know I'm going to give them so much love for being our first sponsor. But like, I want to make sure that one, we let everybody know what's going on, right? So WrapSpot is our first sponsor, and we're giving away a vehicle wrap. Did I tell you this?
Yeah.
We're giving away a vehicle wrap to a business in Gainesville, specifically well, one, I'll say, if you haven't checked out WrapSpot, check them out, because these guys do incredible things with these wraps, and I think any business person who has had a wrap on their vehicle can vouch for it. It's funny, Elio, who does all the drumming and stuff, he's got his vehicles wrapped, and he's like, oh dude, everybody's pointing at you. It just brings some excitement and definitely makes you stand out on the road. So one of the things that I was like, dude, let's do this, let's give away a wrap. So we're not monetarily benefiting on the podcast. That was the thing that I wanted to make sure that we did not do in these early stages. I want this to benefit somebody in Gainesville. So I'm like, let's give away a wrap. So this is what you got to do to win this wrap from WrapSpot. So Garrick, thank you so much. Taylor, thank you so much. WrapSpot crew, thank you so much. Everybody else, what you need to do is go to whoagnv.com, click giveaway. So we're gonna have a link that says giveaway, fill out the form, and then boom, you are entered to win, baby. That's it. And then you can share with your friends, right? So tell your friends that they can go, even if they don't have a business, tell your friends to go enter, because if they win, then they can give it to your business. And I mean, this is gonna be a wrap that's gonna benefit somebody here in town, and it's $2,500 value, dude.
Yeah.
$2,500. Those wraps are not the cheapest thing, but I can tell you this. Even at $2,500, it's one of the best investments that you can make for your business from a marketing standpoint, because it just makes you stand out on the road. I can tell you, when people see our new Scooters Flush truck go by, they're like, oh, dude, I get pictures of it is what happens. People take pictures of the vehicle and they text it to you. Yeah, I know what it looks like. What?
I've seen it before. I made it.
So anyway, WrapSpot, thank you so much for sponsoring this podcast. And Gainesville, go get entered to win a wrap, because that's going to be a fun thing to give away. And there's going to be a lot more coming with that in the next few weeks here. So that's it. Everybody, thank you so much for listening to this podcast. This is the WHOA GNV podcast, the podcast bringing you businesses and individuals that make you go, whoa.
Whoa.
We will see you later. Bye.